as Jesus said, that love instead of hate. And everybody in the city hated all these hippies and all these runaway kids and all the drugs and everything. And Father Harrison said, look, this was a ghetto. Now you're pulling down really high rents. You're making lots of money off of these hippies. And he was kind of an advocate for the whole hippie Haight-Ashbury scene in those days. And I used to make a round of all these coffee shops and everything. We would put our digger bread in there and cut it up and provide butter to the customers. And it was a Black Panthers and were sort of our guardians. I would make rounds of once a week of all those head shops, they called them, in the Haight-Ashbury, which would support us with money for flour and ingredients for our bread and everything. And I had a Black Panther sort of guarding me because I was carrying a lot of money. And anyway, it was exciting for me. And the whole neighborhood and everything was going on. That was the 60s, and it was the whole anti-Vietnam, anti-establishment, anti-everything. Make love, not war, It was the crime. And so I said that Jeanne, we'll go out there. When we got there, I found all my old friends were gone, long since gone. Father Harris was still alive, but he was really old. And steered me to somebody that had a space, and everything was communal in those days. We had a whole bunch of rooms, everybody shared the apartment, lived there together. And so he had a place for us. We wound up sharing an apartment over on what they call the Sunset. That's where the Sunset District. And so we lived there for a while until that apartment got robbed. Somebody, people used to come, one guy in particular used to come in bragging about how he bought all these acres up in Humboldt County, Mendocino County, all from pot money. And he would come down with pot, and then we would bag it up into ounce bags and sell it on the street. And one day I said to him, as he was bragging about this place and how beautiful it was, and his views of the ocean. I said, isn't it so damn nice? I'm taking Jeanne and I up sometime, we can see it. He said, sure. He drove us up in his Volkswagen Bug, and sure enough, it was out in Whale Gulch, and it was really beautiful place he had. And I asked him if Jeanne and I could move in. I have this idea for a windmill house. I was getting into ecology, and I wanted to completely get away from automobiles, which is what got me into horses, Michelle. So was that desire to give up. I thought we should stop using combustible engines, because all the terrible, terrible poisonous fumes go up, and they hit this glass wall, the shield. They can't get out. And it's just terrible what we're doing to the environment. And the biggest, in my mind, the biggest instigator of death was the common, ordinary automobile, because everybody has one. There's so many. You get all the 10, I found out, 10 of the deadliest poisons known to man are emitted from our automobile exhaust. And all this goes up until it's trapped. And I believe to this day that causes cancer and all kinds of diseases, respiratory diseases and stuff are caused by our automobile exhaust. If we could just stop using the combustible engine. So, anyway, I came out here and bought a piece of land in Edwardsburg. Actually, we first came to Leggett, and we lived in Leggett for a little while. Had a bunch of things happen to us, and we wound up buying this piece of land in Edwardsburg. And I had a horse. I got a horse. Finally got my horse. Before I got into Jesus and this desire to take the gospel in a wagon. I wanted to go in a wagon, a horse-drawn wagon, around the world. Actually, be the first man to circumvent the planet Earth in a horse-drawn wagon. But I didn't actually get a start at it, and got up, left Redway in a wagon, got up into Idaho, down by the Snake River, and we were traveling along there. And then I think I stopped the wagon venture. I was getting older and it was really getting hard to do. And physically, my plan was to ride the wagon all day, east, keep going east until I got to the west East Coast. And then I was going to load the horse and wagon on a freighter and go to England. And then I was going to go across the channel. And I was going to keep going east until I got to China. And then I'd load back in the wagon, come back to USA. But it was a very romantic idea, but physically I just reached a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. The hitching and the dealing with the horse was just too exhausting. I gave it up, put that blueberry farm in Honeydew. Boy, that was nice. I really liked that blueberry farm. But anyway, that's an explanation of what brought me, Jeanne and I, from New York City. She was a social worker, and when we both found the Lord, it seemed almost like our previous lives were a setup for evangelism, introducing people to Jesus. And I was convinced that the Lord spoke to me I was stoned sitting by the swimming hole in Honeydew, and I heard a voice that was very strange because it seemed to be saying Mattole. And that's all the voice said, kept saying over and over again, Mattole, Mattole. I didn't know anything about Jesus Christ then. I did know something because my mother was a Catholic, and I went to catechism, and I knew who he was. But this was like a voice, and I just lay there on this riverbed hearing this voice, when what is, I knew the name of the river was Mattole. Somehow an awareness came over that he was speaking to me and addressing me as Mattole. And wanted my attention. I started talking back to him. You know, if you're God, you're so almighty, in control of everything, how come you let this happen to me, that happened to me? I was very sickly as a boy and had a lot of tumors in my head. Had 13 surgeries for removal of tumors from different parts of my head. And my mother and father were divorced, and it just seemed my life was a total failure. I'd been in and out of several colleges, and I just was a lousy student. I wouldn't do the work, I wouldn't read the books, I wouldn't do what they told me, and I'd fail the course. And And I was sort of saying, how come?